I was born in 1965, the same year that Churchill died. So I was 5 in 1970, and then when I first started becoming aware of music, really, was during that period of glam rock with Sweet, Gary Glitter, Slade, would dominated the charts. Slade's were the most successful singles band since the Beatles. It's hard to communicate how popular they were at that time. For a brief period in the early 70s, they made a film called Slade in Flame, which kind of blew the lid on the music industry and showed the downside of it all, which wasn't probably what most people wanted from them, because they were like a good time band, you know. They played rock and roll and amazing live band. Anyway, they kind of got, as I was getting to my early teens, I started getting to there was the new wave of British heavy metal starting up, and by some freak, Black Sabbath was my favourite band by quite a long way. I was really into Sabbath, and I just been too late to see them. So I think they split up in 1979 or something like that, 1978, 1979. Ozzy Osbourne was supposed to be getting his new band back together, called Blizzard of Oz, and they were going to be playing at Reading. And by fluke, we knew some kid who was related to Harvey Goldstein, I think, the promoter, and we ended up getting free tickets and backstage passes for Reading 1980. And my excitement, I thought, we got, oh, I might meet Ozzy Osbourne. And it wasn't like now when he was a reality TV star. He was the singer of a really dark, heavy rock band, and everyone was curious as to what he was going to come out with. So that's the reason we went, really. Anyway, we hitched down. I mean, a friend called Elliot hitched down there. I was 14, I think, but when we did it, and we hitched down from Leeds to London and then on to Reading, and camped up there, and we were watching them, and there was like all the bands that were playing. There was like Gillan, White Snake, and then all the new wave of British heavy metal bands were there, I think, pretty much, like Saxon and Samson and Witchfind and Angel Witch and Praying Mantis and Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, all those bands. And we'd seen most of those in a pub in Leeds called the Four Green. We just used to go see bands. It wasn't that we were particularly into heavy metal, it's just that was what was happening, you know. If it had been the punk time, we'd have been watching punk bands like the Sex Pistols played the Four Green. Never mind the bollocks. Anyway, so we're there, we got to see, and the festival's not really working. Everything's kind of a bit weird. Like, none of those bands, not one of them had a song that anyone really knew, you know. They were like and everybody was a bit pompous about it. And then the news came through that Ozzy Osbourne had pulled out, and he wasn't ready to do it. And as a last minute decision, they got Slade to come and play. I was really happy, but most of the crowd of people are going, oh, fucking Slade, old fucking singles band from the early 70s, we don't want to see them. And we want to see our big special rock bands, you know, like. And but none of them had gone down well. You watched a whole set by a band, and there's not a single song that anyone knew. Anyway, so Slade turned up, and apparently they had the bit between the teeth. They'd been practically packed it in, but they hadn't done that for the last 2 years. And they were going to, had enough, they were going to pack it in. But their manager, Chandler, who used to be in the Animals, and he was also the manager of Jimi Hendrix, he rang around them and said, look, come on. And Dave Earl was the last one. The rest of them were into it. Then Dave Earl was saying, no, don't want to do it. But they eventually said they did, and they carried their own instruments in there. And Jim Lee apparently said he had this bit between his teeth. He was thinking, you know, all these people here, and I'm carrying my own equipment in. And Noddy Alder said that they knew all the security guys because they'd played all these places, you know. Anyway, they come on. And like I say, the crowd was against them. They didn't. They were playing against an audience that was against them. Anyway, they came out and they just blasted out 3 numbers that were just amazing, and the people had been pouring away, and suddenly they all started coming down, pouring down, and the whole. I've never seen anything like it. There's a video by Andy Hargreaves. It's called Andy Hargreaves Guitar, and he talks about it. He wasn't there, but he's an Oasis fan. But and the crowd, just because they knew the songs, there was like Goodbye to Jane, Come On Feel the Noise, and the crowd just went mental, absolutely mental. I've never seen anything like it, and they blew away every single band that was there. Apparently, Joe Elliott from Def Leppard, who argued because he wanted to go out, Slade was supposed to be above them on the, the bigger bands play later, and he wanted to play after them. And after he'd watched Slade, he said, "How can you follow that? You just can't." And they just blew away the whole wave of British heavy metal. They just destroyed it in 45 minutes. Still there's footage of it online. Like I say, I've been into Slade when we were little kids. Like when we were 7 or 8, we'd get their singles and jump up and down to them. But we'd kind of forgotten about all that. And then, and it's a historic moment in rock history. Really, really glad I was there. I went backstage, and Dave Hill was the only one who's got the autograph off. Noddy Holder and Jim Lee were a bit I think because of the way they've been treated and stuff, they were a bit angry. And one of my friends, Jim White, went to get them to sign his jeans, and Noddy Holder drew a big penis, a ejaculating penis, on his jeans, which really upset him. I don't know if he was saying you're a knobhead or what. I don't know what the gist behind that was. But it was I've never seen anything like it. I really am. There's recordings of it that have come out since, and their career changed after that. They were on the radio again, and they've been trying to break America for years, and eventually they did My Oh My, and I can't remember what the other one was. There were a couple of big hit singles in America. I mean, their songs had been hits for Quiet Riot. Had done a cover version of Come On Feel the Noise, and they'd done a cover version of Mama We're All Crazy Now. And they'd had got into the Billboard charts #1 and stuff, or #2, I can't remember. But so people knew the Slade songs, but just for some reason, I guess because they were a very English band. But I just saw that Andy Hargreaves video, and I thought, I was there for that, and it really did change how I saw music. There was so much. Their stagecraft, their tight. It was so tight, and also they communicated with the crowd, and the crowd bounced back off them, and the crowd were all singing the songs and joining in, and they just totally changed the festival. Without them, it would have been rubbish. It really would. It was the only other one that I really saw that I thought was any good was Rory Gallagher, but again, he's just one that you just stand and watch, sort of thing, And all these other bands who hadn't got a song between them, hadn't got a way of communicating with the crowd between them, and Slade just blew them all away. It was. I had a few more things to say about it because it's really quite hard to communicate how impressive it was, and how. I mean, I love Slade to this day, and weirdly they're all alive still, and you think about the bands from that time, most of them died off, but I think Dave Hill still uses the name Slade 2 or something, and Don Powell plays with different things. Jim Lee and Noddy Holder don't seem to do much really, but I guess they've got I think the falling out was over money because they were the songwriters. So when Merry Christmas Everybody comes out, they get a couple of 100,000 every year, and Don and Dave don't get paid for that. They just get some performers' rights. So the money situation, you got 2 of them who are millionaires, multi-millionaires, and the other 2 that are working musicians who put in as much. There's a lot I could say about Slade. I think they're a very important band. that glam rock thing, I think the last one, people think of the Sex Pistols as being the start of punk, but really I think they were more like in that lineage of Slade and the Sweet, and the focus on image and football chant type lyric, like choruses you could sing along to, and that kind of power. So I always think of the Pistols as being like the tail end of that rather than the beginning of punk, because most punk bands are shit, to be honest with you. Didn't like the heavy metal, never been a fan of that. But yeah, it was a shame we didn't see Ozzy and his new band. But seeing Slade, I don't think I've ever witnessed a band that's come on to such a hostile crowd and to completely convert them, all of them, and get the whole place moving. Like it was madness. It was absolute madness. And yeah, I can't remember how we got back. We'd like to say we hitched down now. And one of the lists we got was from this bloke who claimed to be a professional gambler, and he's got a stones fucking joints with him in the car. And he said, I think now, like 14-year-old kids hitching down the country, just you'd think it's, you know, things like that don't happen no more. People just, it's a different world we live in. Yeah, and we were fortunate to have the backstage passes. I remember walking past Iron Maiden, and Iron Maiden asked me if I wanted their autographs, and I said no. I remember this time they'd never had much success. I'd seen them all those bands, like playing the Ford Green, which was a venue in Leeds, a little pub, quite a big pub, and all those new wave of British heavy metal bands played there, like Def Leppard, Iron Maiden, so we went on to bigger things. Loads of other ones that didn't, like Vardis and Saxon and Praying Mantis and Witchbite, Angel Witch. Yeah, it was quite a good little period. But Slade put them all in their place. Slade were on a different level. You know, I think the history of single sales goes, the Beatles sold a lot of singles. Then in the 70s, Slade did, and then the next one that came along that did it was the Jam. And the Jam had a mighty few years. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that a bit. I could go on more about it in detail, but yeah, just check out the footage on YouTube. You can find it there. And Andy Hargreaves has got a good video on it. I think is it Andy Hargreaves' guitar? His channel's called, or Alan Hargreaves or something. He's an Oasis fan, but he did a really good video about he captured the mood, he captured what had happened there, and yeah, it was a pivotal moment in the history of rock music.